Motion.
Aye.
Aye.
Minutes approved. Let me say something quickly. I just had to be here today, and I'm not gonna start crying, I promise myself,
You can.
but I can.
It's all right.
But, we're just devastated, to what happened, but at the same time, you know, I want you all to know in this room, this has been my family for 27 years, and I love you all, and I sincerely had to be here today, to see you all. It's gonna take a long time. Bo was adopted at 22 months old. I was a freshman in college. My mother took him in. She had the life of Riley ahead of her. I was the last one out of the house, and she found out about this family. It was worse than we ever thought. Very bad child abuse situations, abusive, and she took him out at 22 months old and raised him. And from the time he had ADHD and then the bipolar got worse, and it's been he had a lot of struggles, and but he also had a lot of love and really a good life, and just borderline genius when came to doing. There's nothing he couldn't fix, nothing he couldn't repair. Mm-hmm. You dare challenge him that he couldn't do something, he would prove you wrong, whether it would take a week to take the engine out of your car and repair it, put it back in, or do electrical work and anywhere you needed to. Unfortunately, he was a little too good at computers. I always worried about maybe that next hack might come from him. But he was very gifted in so many ways, and he would never see a car in a parking lot or on the side of the road with a hood up that he wouldn't stop and fix someone's car, and always would end it by no charge. And that's just the kind of person he was. But anyway, he's at peace now. I really do believe, and it's just I was just having a hard time dealing with it. And my mother is 92, and of course that was her baby, and you just don't bury your child. And he was very childlike, even though he's 51. He was like more like he's in his 20s. That's he had his birthday Sunday, and I'd already ordered his cake, and of course nobody loved birthdays more than he did, and that made it really a bad day too. But I just want to thank all of you for your messages and your prayers. And I came out the door last night, and I couldn't even get in the house for all the boxes of Chewies from Chewy.com with a big sign that said, the least we want you to worry about is having to buy for your animals. And so it was 10 boxes.
Wow.
They came in for the cats and the dogs. Just those types of things have been absolutely amazing. And anyway, the graveside services will be Friday at 2. Pastor Kelvin Kroom will be presiding. And if you are able to come, we would certainly love to have you. And if you can't, we certainly understand as well. But I just wish everybody had a chance to know him and know what that, that, like I said, he had his struggles, and I told Judge May said he's never seen anything like my Bo and me together, because there's brotherly love, and then there's really brotherly love when you end up in court more than him, because he doesn't show up, but I'm there. And but he was just so nervous. And bipolar is a terrible condition that so many of you I know have family members and those have to live with, and borderline schizophrenic at times too. But the fun. And Cassius has known him for forever, high school, and he's just a lovable, wonderful person that we're going to miss. I just really can't imagine going, without him, because it's always, you never knew what the next day was going to bring with Bo. But anyway, I just want to thank you all. Okay, and for indulging me as well. Department comments, Virgil.
We've got 3 new ones for you tonight. First one is 3205 29th Street. This is just the shed part on this property. I spoke with the owner the other day, and he didn't even realize there was a shed on the property. He bought this property sight unseen. There's a house to the left of it. But so we're condemning just the shed here. I did contact him. He's aware of the hearing tonight. He's aware that if we condemn it and tear it down, that the cost will be reverted back to him. He will probably tear it down himself or have somebody prior to us getting to it. But we want to go ahead and just condemn it. This was one of the things that the mayor spotted. I rode by this piece of property, I don't know how many times, I never saw that shed. Because from the road, you can't see it unless it's a certain time of the year, when it's like during the winter and there's no leaves. So I never saw it.
Virgil, where is that? Where is that?
It's right on the corner, right off of Martin Luther King on 29th Avenue. It's the building behind it is a set of apartments, right there across from the Habitat house that they just built on MLK.
Westlawn Apartments. Is that the old Westlawn apartment?
I think that's the name. I'm not even sure what the name of those are, to be honest.
It is.
Right.
It's right street.
How did you see it?
It's hid back in there. You can't see it.
Okay.
The mayor's even like,
So I was going to say that.
all right, so the next one, 3209 7th Street. This one was condemned in December 8th, 2023. The owner has gotten started, and you'll see some pictures toward the end where he has pulled a permit and started making some repairs. So we want to keep this one in council due to the fact of some previous work that he's done where he kind of gets started and don't want to quit. So I want to hold his feet to the fire and make sure he does. But you can see where he started repairing the back end of the house.
Was there a fire there?
No, it just fell in. It just rotted.
Oh dear.
So, and he actually owns 2 other properties. One other one will probably be here before long too. And the one he lives in, he's continually working on as well. So what I would recommend here is let's table this one for 90 days and give him time to make further progress. And we'll try to get him to get the outside buttoned up, and then we can pull it out like we did the last ones and let him just do the inside through the permitting process.
No problem with that.
And he should be here tonight to represent himself. And the last one we have is 2697 22nd Street. It was also condemned on December the 8th. This house here is actually occupied. The man lives in it, is the brother of the owner, but they have made provisions for him to move into an apartment. The VA got him a place to move to, so we can tear the house down, and then they're going to do what they need to do, and then Habitat's going to come in and help him out with rebuilding him a house. So, but the house is just falling in around him.
But when Habitat rebuilds it,
I'm sorry?
when Habitat rebuilds the house, does it remain under the ownership of the then owner? I thought Habitat had to have a deed to the property to do it.
what they'll have to do is, the deed has to be in the person that's gonna be living in the house, the property itself. Then they'll build the house. Now they have a mortgage on it.
Yeah.
So they'll have a mortgage on it, which will
Interest free.
roll it back in. They just won't do it for rental houses or anything like that.
Right.
It has to be the person living in the house. So right now, the deed is actually in his sister and one other person's name, I believe, but they're gonna get it deeded over to the brother after all this is done, and they take care of what the city will charge them to demolish it. And that's all we've got for tonight.
Been busy.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Virgil. Any questions for him? What did you say about the first one again? What did we gonna do about the shed?
Vote it
He's
down.
gonna tear it down.
Go ahead and vote to demolish.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Zach?
All right, I've got 2 rezoning public hearings for you guys. The first one, you'll have to bear with me. I'm going to try and explain it as best I can. There's a little bit more to it than just on the surface, but try and explain it as best I can. So this is a petition to rezone 9.5 acres at 202 25th Avenue Northeast from R2 to R4. This is in Mr. Tyner's district. The location of the property here, so 25th Avenue Northeast, you go up that road, you're gonna eventually hit, there's Moose Lodge, which is just over the railroad tracks, which is very close to this property. And you keep going up and it's what formerly was the retreat at Lake Tamaha, and then ultimately goes right out to Nucor Steel on Jack Warner. And then on the left-hand side here on the west, you can see it's Kicker Road. So it's kind of sandwiched in between those 2 main roads. The aerial, so you can see the access point off of 25th Avenue Northeast, that just over there is the Moose Lodge, and it's primarily vacant today, a pretty large piece of property. There is a single family home on the site as well. And it is currently zoned R2. There's some R3 surrounding it.
Is that the Union Hall?
Yeah.
Or the,
No, it's,
it's not?
Miss Foley lived there. Remember Jeanette
Oh.
Foley? Just, but it's the Union Hall's on the other end of the bridge.
Okay.
You know what?
Yeah.
Her,
I'm sorry,
there's a
Zach.
mailbox.
No,
I
you're
was
good.
just looking at that line, I couldn't,
It's close.
okay.
Yeah, no,
Didn't mean
great.
to throw you off.
No, you're good. So tonight, the petition is to just rezone the property to R4 from R2. And the reason that they're proposing this is to allow for the construction and use of townhomes and duplexes on the site. So they submitted 2 cases to the Planning Commission. One was this rezoning, which ultimately you guys approve. And the other is the preliminary plat for 26 townhome lots and 4 duplex lots, which the Planning Commission ultimately ends up approving as that final approval. However, just to keep in the back of your mind as you're looking at this is, well, I'll just go into this real quick. So it was recommended to approve the rezoning from R2 to R4 by a vote of 5-2, so 2 no votes. But this point here, if the rezoning is approved by council, the developer is not tied to this subdivision. So if you rezone this property to R4, the property is zoned R4. He could sell this property, someone else could come in with a totally new concept and go through the Planning Commission for a new subdivision. They could do all townhomes, they could do all duplexes. So you're really just rezoning the property to R4. It's not like a planned unit development where, you know, that comes to you guys and you approve every aspect of it.
So
Right.
this could turn out to be rental homes.
So this could turn out, yeah, it could turn out to be a lot of different things. You're really just approving, if you go from R2 to R4, more density and more types of single-family residences,
Zach,
essentially.
Why would we rezone something if we don't know what's gonna be on it? I mean,
So-
what they're requesting, if they're not, I mean,
Yeah,
because I'm trying to think, I know that happens sometimes, but if there's actually something active going on right now.
yeah, and that's a good question. And their reasoning to rezone this is to build this development. I just want y'all to make sure y'all are aware that, you know, their goal is to rezone it, to build it, but if it doesn't get built, it's still gonna be zoned
Who's
R4.
doing it?
It's
Mike Hicks.
Mark Booth.
I thought it said Mike Hicks.
Mike Hicks is the engineer that submitted it, but Mark Booth is also a property
What
owner.
was the logic of the 5 yes votes and planning commission?
Yeah, so I think there's some concerns about density in this location, and I'll get to it because of the third bullet point, which brings me to my third bullet point. The subdivision was approved with the condition that development connect to First Street Northeast if the traffic study requires connectivity. So what that means is before they can move any dirt whatsoever on this lot, say you guys rezone to R4, and they move forward with building permits, with land development permit, they're gonna be submitting a traffic study to the Office of the City Engineer, and Mr. Gardner's here to speak more on what that might look like. But if that traffic study says, hey, you should require connectivity between First Street Northeast, then we as staff are gonna make them connect because the Planning Commission approved it as that condition. So really y'all aren't looking at whether or not the connectivity should happen. It's more so just thinking about if you rezone this to R4, you're creating the ability for more density, which is gonna increase traffic, and more connection points might be required.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah,
Sorry.
definitely.
No, go ahead, no, I've got a lot
Why,
to say.
why would we do this before we have all the facts and we know what the study says?
Yeah.
Where we can make a decision all at once?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I
mean,
I did reach out to the.
Mr. President, I don't know why would we do
Do we
that?
have a real, do you happen to have a real picture of the neighborhood that can be connected to?
I have an aerial that I'll show you.
Okay.
But to answer your question, Mr. Crow, they request to move forward to council. I let them know, hey, has the traffic study been, because this was the condition. They said, no, the traffic study has not been completed. I think the reason, and again, Mr. Gardner can speak on that, is if the rezoning doesn't get approved, then they probably don't want to spend the money for the traffic study. But to your point, you guys aren't probably gonna want to rezone this if you don't know all the details. But this is kind of a more blown out picture of the property. Obviously the property's in red. You can see the single family home, the access point off of 25th Avenue Northeast. On the left hand side there, the western side, you can see First Street Northeast dead ends to this property. So there is kind of like a stub street out to this property, and that's kind of the area that we're talking about. Their proposal, you've got that one access point here. Per fire code, and y'all can kind of speak more to that, is their updated code requires 2 access points for subdivisions like this now, moving forward. And so they need 2 access points in order to get the density that they're wanting. So they are proposing to either put a gate here and not allow everyday use, everyday access between these 2 roads, or if the traffic study requires it, it would be open all the time. There would be no gate between a public right of way. So they're gonna stub out to that street. So there's gonna basically be 2 stub streets connecting each other at the property line, but whether or not there's a gate there is essentially falls to that traffic study.
Zach, is any part of the will you go back to the satellite?
Yes, sir.
Is any part of the university's golf course they're building, does it run on the east side of Kicker Road as well?
Yeah, I believe so.
Is it gonna be?
It's over there, isn't it?
But
Yeah.
to this project?
I think it's just north of it. So there's kind of that that property in between the 2 where the university owns. Is that correct?
There's a chunk of R2 property and then
Yeah. So I'll show you the rezone or the zoning map, which kind of could give. So the green right there is, I believe, where the golf course is going to be.
You'll go back to the satellite view. Is there, again, Mr. Tyner, you may have to help me.
Yes, sir.
First Street North goes downhill, right?
We know it's Kennedy Park.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it goes downhill. Is there gonna be worry about drainage coming back into the townhome development?
Yes.
So they will, and I mean, of course, Mr. Gardner can also speak a little bit more than I can on that, but their proposal and, with the land development permit, all of that's going to be looked at the application phase to make sure that they're meeting all the required runoff and detention that they would be required with this development.
Mayor, you may remember this because there was I forget the price tag then, but there was a serious drainage issue in Kennedy Park that we corrected.
Well, and the other thing, I can't speak for PD, but I know we like it better with one access in, one access out.
Yep.
I don't understand why fire department wants that, but I
The
think
ability
from
for
a,
two.
I think we like it better, one access in, one access out.
Yes.
I worry about creating you're gonna create a lot of traffic between Kicker and 25th.
Yeah, that could definitely be a possibility, and I think this would be a good time for Mr. Gardner to come up, because the issue with the traffic study is primarily this right-hand side. The bridge over the railroad tracks, so this is heading north. You're instantly turning left into that development off of 25th Avenue East. And so the traffic study might require some pretty significant changes to this property,
And Zach, while
or
he
this
Mike's,
road.
well, I'm sorry, Zach,
No, you go ahead.
when Mike's speaking, do you have could you get a picture of the actual neighborhood?
I think
for me? Okay, then I'll wait on Mr. Gardner.
Good afternoon. I don't know, it's been, 3 or 4 months that we've made made the request that a traffic study needed to accompany this proposal to the planning commission, and we've yet to see that traffic study. The entrance will be just on the north end of the bridge. There's two things that I see that are of concern. One is where their entrance is. If you're wanting to look south for oncoming traffic, does any of the bridge abutment or guard railing affect that line of sight? Secondly, the most important factor is, will the traffic study state that a left turn lane would be necessary on 25th Avenue? So you would have, that would be creating a left turn lane for the cars to stage to turn left into the new development, while the northbound traffic could continue on 25th Avenue unaffected by the person wanting to turn left. If a left turn lane is required, they're going to have to widen the bridge. And I don't think that that's an economic option for that development.
Could you just allow the traffic off Kicker and close off, you wouldn't allow it on the 25th? Is the road on Kicker suitable? I'm not saying that, just out of curiosity, is that a possibility?
We would need to, I haven't looked at that side. I don't know how the developers would feel about that, but likewise, I think we would need to look and see what kind of impact that might have on Kicker and what those site distances would be. And it could certainly be a component of the traffic analysis.
And I know Mr. Tyner had some concerns from the neighbors,
Oh, yeah.
and that was kind
Can
of
you,
the thing.
can you show the neighborhood?
So this is,
Go
do you
down
want
the
the street
street?
view like this, or do you want just an aerial?
Can you go down the hill?
Yeah.
Okay.
More?
Yes, please. All right. Yeah,
Oh, you
that's,
want to go
that's
all the way
good right
down to
there.
the end?
So you guys can see, this is my, I've got huge concerns. And I told Mark Booth, and I'm not opposed to the development. I am very extremely opposed to cutting through this street. This is one of the best little neighborhoods. And we call it Kennedy Park. It says when they said First Street Northeast, I don't know where that is. Everybody knows, in Alberta especially knows it's Kennedy Park. And can you imagine, this is a quiet little neighborhood with hardly ever any issues, except they had a bad drainage problem, which fixed that, and speeding from the own people who live there. But can you, how many
It
townhomes?
looks like about 20, the townhomes, 30 total, two duplex units.
And aimed at students, we all know they're very slow drivers. But can you imagine that many students coming in and out of this very quiet, middle-class neighborhood, and that it would just completely destroy them? It would destroy the neighborhood.
I can imagine it.
Yeah, I know you could, I know you could. So, again, I'm not against the development, but I'm definitely against, I would be totally if they had to come through the neighborhood. And I think the neighbors, I am not gonna be here tonight, so I would either ask you all to either continue it so the neighbors could, cause I think so many of the neighbors think it's over. Because it's been going on so long, they haven't heard
How long
anything.
would you want it to take it
Couple of weeks maybe.
And, you know, I could let them know that, you
Or
know,
just
y'all
turn
would like
this
to
on-
see the traffic study prior to,
Yeah.
you know, making a.
Or just, or not rezone it, because, you know, that's just not fair. That's, you know, that is not fair to the neighborhood at all. And,
We just had a similar issue in Woodland Forest.
yeah,
We need two in my district.
so I guess maybe can we continue it 2 weeks would be good, and of course, you know, we still won't have a traffic study, so by that
think-
time.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Holmes, but if y'all could possibly continue it until a traffic study is provided.
Let's
as
do
well.
that. Let's do that.
Well, we need to do that tonight, or?
I don't know how the clerk is gonna keep up with that is my
Okay.
only
Or just,
concern.
can we just in,
So 2 weeks and then we'll just
indefinite,
revisit
or
it.
just,
I think you can make known to the petitioner that you don't plan on taking action until you see the traffic study tonight, and then if they don't have it in 2 weeks, just continue to.
and I'll be honest, I mean, they don't wanna have to, they don't want it to go through the neighborhood either.
Yes.
So, you know, that's more expense for them really too, but they, you know, but I'm more concerned about those neighbors, and I promise you, most of them, like I said, I was telling earlier, I've been down here 27 years, most of them have lived in those homes at least that long, if not longer. It's just not fair.
All right. Well, I'll let them know prior to the meeting, and then they should be here tonight as well. And then our second rezoning will be simpler, I believe. So this is Mr. Binion. He's petitioning to rezone approximately 0.2 acres at 1801 Foster's Ferry Road from R3 to BNS. This is in Council District 1. The location of the property, pretty close to Stillman Boulevard, on that corner of 18th Street and Foster's Ferry. You guys might actually be familiar with just the building itself. So,
The old barbershop.
Yep.
Blackman's Barbershop.
Oh,
Be
yeah,
there.
sure.
Yeah, and, the petitioner is gonna turn it into a barbershop again. And
yeah, so they don't necessarily have a concept yet. They've kind of thrown out a few different things.
Yeah, they have a few different options for it.
But they are requesting to rezone because of it's clearly a commercial building on this lot, and it's been historically used, as y'all have just mentioned, as a barbershop. It does conform to framework, and Planning Commission did unanimously recommend to approve it. Mr. Winter will be here tonight to give you kind of an overview of who Mr. Binion is and the project. That's all I've got.
That's all you got, exactly.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, and I appreciate all y'all's help, because I talked to Ashley and Zach immediately and said, this, we can't let this happen. Now, hopefully it won't. We'll see, but thank y'all for all you listening to me. Antonius,
I'm sure there'll be comments made.
Let's just approve it before he gets a chance to talk.
Still want to vote for it?
Let's approve it before he gets a chance to talk.
that's a good idea. Thank you, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Council Mayor. We have 4 applicants tonight. The first one, Family Dollar Store, Alabama LLC, applying for Family Dollar Store, 32679 at 1525 Skyland Boulevard East. They're applying for retail beer off premises and retail table wine off premises. All right. Questions? All right, the second one.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Got a question?
No, I'm
Whose
sorry.
district was that, Tony?
Mine.
Yes, sir. 1525, yes,
Or
Scott.
six.
It should be yours.
I thought it was
Yes,
mine.
sir.
Okay.
Crescent Ridge.
No, this is the one for Scott.
Oh,
I guess so.
The family
Ripple.
dog.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I get confused. Might be yours.
They gonna sell
I think it's yours. It's 7, I know, it's 7. It's 7, yeah.
that
That's what I thought.
All right.
Should discount the sales.
Tell me that's it.
I didn't know that.
And you don't do that, right?
All
I
right,
got a Mad Dog and Ripple.
All right, the second application I have is another Family Dollar store. It's Family Dollar Store 33714 at 1600 Crescent Ridge Road Northeast. And they're applying for the same thing, retail beer off premises and retail table wine.
That's over in the hole.
Across from Dollar General.
And then my third applicant would be Family Dollar Store 30460 at 2515 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. Again, they're applying for retail beer off premises, retail table wine off premises.
Is this a change in
Their
retailing
purposes.
strategy?
No, they just applying. They just adding the beer and wine to theirs. These three locations never had it.
Is anybody, somebody we went through this at one time and nobody showed up, are they gonna be here tonight?
They were supposed to. At the previous time they had it, they couldn't get anybody to come to meeting, but they should have somebody today.
Okay.
I'll follow up after
Can I
meeting.
ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Who did we turn down right there? Did we not turn them down one time before because it was by Martin Luther King and TCTA and all that?
I think
We
we
turned
did.
somebody down for an
If
hour.
it's the gas station, I thought
That was
the gas
It
station.
was,
the gas station.
That was the gas station.
but it's right there though. It's not.
It's right beside. Yes, sir. It's right beside it.
That was
It's
Ravens.
right beside it. We
That was
turned
in
that
Ravens,
down.
didn't
That's District 2 now.
That's you turn out the gas station right beside
Yeah,
it.
we turned that down.
Where is this from, though?
It's right across the street from.
It's right beside Catch a Taste.
Yeah.
Catch Station.
It's from Long
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they used to be Winston's.
That's right.
Somewhere down
Might all think about being consistent.
I think we should.
I don't want to play.
there. Well, as I recall, on that one, nobody showed up to answer any questions. And that's one reason we turned it down.
Well, I just remember we turned the Dollar General down when it was right across from Alberta.
Oh, I don't,
Elementary school.
I don't remember.
So what would that mean
Hey,
for the
there's-
other, what would that mean for
there's
the
always
other,
go
for the
up.
store next door?
If you need it.
If they,
That'd
because we turned them
be
down.
grand.
Cause you have a gas
They don't-
station.
They're not, they don't have,
Catch a Taste, me.
no, not Catch a Taste, the gas station. We turned them down.
Did we?
Yes.
Yeah, we did.
Was that Winston?
I don't know the name of it, but we turned it down. So what,
You're talking about in District,
2, that's, I mean, all of
Right
that
there
is in
next door
District
to
2.
that.
Well, is Raven gonna be here tonight? I'm not voting no unless the council
She
person
just
makes a case yes or no.
She just sent me a message asking, was I gonna be at pre-council? That's all I know.
So,
So if it meets the legal requirements,
Right, I agree.
then absent the council person making a strong case not to, I'm not gonna vote no if it meets the legal requirement.
so what does that, what will that mean for that store that we turned down? Will they come back
Yeah.
and ask us for opportunity to do it, and we told them no?
But this store?
The store was just a place that had a couple of murders going down there. They had shooting, jacking. It was, I think it was because of the conditions and the circumstances.
But
The store
also-
was already concerned.
It wasn't
My-
school.
But also
It
it
was
was
Family Dollar where you
was
was
close to the
It's
school.
close to the school.
I thought we did, said no, because that may be a
Yeah,
contributing
yeah.
factor.
were any of these close to the
It
school?
wasn't just the
Yeah, it's right
murders.
there by Martin Luther
It was,
King
it was the
Elementary.
school. The proximity.
Okay, so I didn't know. You need to probably holler at Raven and see.
Yeah, it's about halfway between that.
Is this the one we turned
Oh, yes,
down
right
about
there.
2
Yes.
years ago?
You never turned down the Family Dollar. You guys
We
denied
turned down
the
the
gas
store
station
next
that was
to it.
beside
Yeah, the
it.
gas station had the
I think it was mainly
heat map. It was all
because of the
kinds of.
school, but I think that's what she wanted.
But as I recall, the owner didn't show up for that.
May
Nobody
not have.
showed up.
Thank you. I don't know. It's a slippery slope, because if you turn
Well,
them down and
Maybe we can
they're
ask the
next to each other,
question.
it'd be hard to prove them. Got them coming back, right, Tony?
I mean, you gotta realize you guys are voting on that particular location, not what was done at a previous location. So you gotta focus your vote on this location right here.
This is a new, this is a different location.
This is a different location. The one that you voted no on was for the gas station beside it.
Yeah.
We're voting on this particular station, so you gotta focus on this one. Don't worry about previous things we've done before.
But I believe it was because of the proximity to the school though, right?
I mean,
I
you-
think it was a couple.
And they
It
also
was
had
coupled
that.
with some of the
Yeah.
incidents
Yeah.
as well, though.
Yeah.
I think that was the
Like
main
murder
reason.
right in the gas station.
But Raven will remember.
Yeah.
I think anyway.
Is that your district, Raven?
That's a Ravens,
Oh, wow.
all that's Ravens district.
Please do.
Is that,
And then my last one is downtown entertainment. They're applying for special events, retail less than 7 days for 3 locations on campus. The Barrister Ball, which is in Bryant Denny Stadium. Then we also have Phi Kappa Psi Parent Weekend, April 5th and 6th. And then you have Sigma Ep Alumni Weekend, February 23rd.
So these are different locations, different weekends?
Yes, sir.
Can somebody, when and where was the decision to bundle, I mean, I know what a pain it is, but when did we decide, or did we decide as a group, to bundle together multiple locations on multiple weekends for a single vote?
we did.
We did?
6 months ago.
We did.
Okay.
I don't remember us ever turning one down, have we?
Not to my knowledge, but I mean,
Obviously, we could.
President, can I ask another question?
Yes, sir.
Did all these applications go through the committee?
No, not these, sir. These are only the less than 7 days. They don't go through the committee.
Well, but what about the Family Dollar ones?
Family Dollar, that's off premises. Only thing that go through the committee is those like on premises, like the restaurants and lounges.
do you want all these to go before committee?
Depends on the week.
Nah.
It's good to be.
I'm afraid
It's good to be inconsistent.
And just one quick note for council, that each individual award of the alcohol license for these events is a separate vote on council. They're just bundled here for pre-council for briefing and awareness, but each individual one will be a vote
separate
singularly
vote.
tonight.
Okay.
It really does streamline things.
The one consistent thing is
That's
everything's
That's
inconsistent.
it.
Thank you. Any questions, Mr. Mills?
Home and auto for bundling.
Correct.
I hate that.
But
Okay,
it's unbundled council.
That's right.
Mayor Maddox?
Bundled, unbundled.
Nothing?
Pass.
Okay.
That's an answer.
We do have one item for executive.
I've been watching that new show called The Floor. Have y'all seen The Floor?
The what?
The Floor.
No.
People, and it's they pass a lot. Anyway, Mr. Holmes.
Good afternoon,
Happy
council.
birthday to you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, wow.
I appreciate it.
Should we sing?
No, I will. I'll probably pass. Thank you, Mr. Phil. Before I get started running down the agenda, I will bring your attention to one item. When you pass the consent agenda tonight, or when you vote on the consent agenda tonight, you will be voting on items B and C. My office has asked that item A be pulled. There is another claim that is associated, and we believe we will be able to do these under one claim and save us only one deductible. So you will see all of that bunched together at a time in the future. Beyond that, I'm actually way back on the top of page 3, where on page 25 you'll be authorizing a professional services contract with Ward Scott Morris Architecture for architectural and engineering services for City Hall Annex Number 2 chiller replacement. This is a total not to exceed $99,125 and came before you in projects last week. On page 26, you'll be authorizing a minor public works contract with Building Specialties Company. This is a total of $3,576 and again came to you on projects last week. On page 27, you'll be authorizing a minor public works contract with Jackson Security Services. This is a total of $5,567.63 and again was in projects last week. On page 28, you'll be authorizing a professional services agreement with Capstone Engineering Group for professional engineering and related services for the Oaks Drainage Improvement Project. This is a total not to exceed $24,110 and again came to you in projects. On page 29, you'll be authorizing a professional services agreement with Capstone Engineering Group. And this one is for the 36th Avenue East drainage improvements, and this is a total not to exceed $38,895. Again, this came to you in projects last week. On page 30, you'll be authorizing a professional services agreement with Capstone Engineering Group. This one is for the Skyland Park drainage improvement projects. And this total is not to exceed $25,350. Again, this came to you in projects last week. On page, I'm sorry, I lost my place. On page 31, you'll be authorizing a professional services agreement with Capstone Engineering Group for the Spring Hill Lake drainage improvement projects. This total is not to exceed $9,955, and again came to you in projects last week. On page 32, you'll be authorizing a professional services contract with TTL Inc. for the Tuscaloosa National Airport MPDES compliance and related professional services. This is a total of $15,300 and was again on projects last week. On page 33, you'll be authorizing a professional services contract with Environmental Services Research Institute, which you have probably heard of before as ESRI. This is for the ArcGIS software license and the related professional services, and comes to a total of $175,500, and again was in projects last week. On page 34, you'll be authorizing renewal and payment of premium for certain insurance coverage. This is a total of $1,684,030 and was in front of finance last week. On page 35, you'll be authorizing a Mercedes-Benz Amphitheater in-kind trade agreement with Hotel Indigo, Tuscaloosa downtown. This comes to you from A&E. On
AME?
Arts and Entertainment. Miss Day's group. On page 36, you'll be authorizing the purchase of equipment, supplies, or services from 72 Hour LLC. This is DBA National Auto Fleet Group for a total of $46,782.49. This is for a CFG Ford F-150 XL Super Crew and comes from purchasing as an item that was previously budgeted. On page 37, you'll be reappointing members to the Tuscaloosa Sister Cities International Board of Directors, including the people you see listed there. Any questions for me?
Any questions for Scott? No executive session?
There is one item for executive
One item, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you, Scott. Alrighty, we've got projects, finances canceled, admin, community development, then council meeting at 6. The CBA will meet on Monday at 5, and strategic review task force for TPD on Wednesday at 3. I do want to just say one quick note of the mayor and council, of course, and all city staff are listed as honorary pallbearers for Friday. And if you do come, if you can't come, I certainly understand. But it is graveside, so you just don't have to go to the chapel in case you're going in, because it will be graveside services only. So just come in the park. And I also want to thank Chief Smith and Chief Blankley for being so incredible when they came and told me the news early that morning. And then I had to tell my mother, and then they stayed and talked to my mother, and were very extremely caring and loving toward her, and that meant a whole lot. Meant a lot. Thank you so much. All right. Is there a motion that we go into executive session?
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion second. Okay.
Yes, sir. As your city attorney and an attorney licensed to practice law in the state of Alabama, I can certify that this executive session is to discuss preliminary negotiations involving matters of trade or commerce in which the governmental body is in competition with private individuals or entities or other governmental bodies in Alabama or in other states or foreign nations. And the discussions would have a detrimental effect upon the competitive position of a party to the negotiations or upon the location, retention, expansion, or upgrading of a public employee or business entity in the area served by the governmental body if disclosed outside of the executive session.
Okay. We have a motion second executive session. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?